Hello everyone, and welcome to an interesting idea. Something new is I like to play things that are slightly unconventional, so I felt like playing an NES game, one that I like. So we're going to go with Final Fantasy, but with a twist. I'm playing Manall's mod of Final Fantasy, the first one. Now I played this game semi-well, not much, I'm kind of bad at the old Final Fantasy. I admit I never beaten the NES version, I've beaten the PSP remake. I'll admit, I've never beaten the NES version, so let's play a ROM hack that makes it more difficult. But, in my defense, I've never beaten the original, probably not from lack of skill, but more from my save file getting corrupted, because if you don't know about the NES, to save, when you turn off the NES, you have to hold in the reset button, then turn the power off. But the outlets in my house where I lived when I was younger was absolutely garbage, so the AC adapter, the NES AC adapter is ginormous and would fall out, and I would lose my save. That happened repeatedly. The farthest I ever got is right before Lich. So, let's just go with something like this. I want something interesting, so I'm gonna roll with interesting. No. There we go. What's going on? Okay, I was pressing the speed button, I guess. On this emulator, I don't know how I everything articulated, so the thing about the first NES game, the first Final Fantasy game as well, is that you can only use 4 characters to name your party members. So, go with a fighter, then a thief. Now, what's a good name for a thief? I gotta think about this really deeply. Yeah, I feel like that's a good letter to start with when you're naming a thief. Someone's a little bit sneaky. Yeah, I'm starting to feel it. I feel it's all coming together, you know? This is a good name for a thief. Now, what should I make the next letter be? I don't know. Oh, I got an idea. There we go. Nick. That's a good name for a thief, right? Totally. Now, the next party member I'm going to make is a green mage, which is a new job made by Manall himself. And I'll go into interesting about the green mage for a second, but, let's give the green mage. Everyone seems to be female in this game, but except Nick. I'm gonna go with that. So let's go Beth. And finally, a white mage, because I need them heals. Since the gender of the white mage is dubious, I'm just going to name them Bert. There we go, we got Blue, Nick, Beth, and Bert. That's the party. Now, okay, Manall, you're pretty cool making this ROM hack, and I respect you deeply for finishing a ROM hack. I've never finished one myself. But you have that thing. For those who are uninitiated, there's like, when you get the files for this ROM hack, there's extra patches that are locked behind a freaking, zip file, not a zip, but a RAR file, that has 4 other patches in it, but it has password protected, and he says, Manall in his infinite wisdom says that if you talk to NPCs and you pay attention to what they're saying, you'll figure out the password. I'm really salty about that, Manall. I want to play the alternate color palette for the world, but I guess I just have to deal. Corneria, the Stream City. Yep. So I'm just going to talk to everybody, see what's going on here. You see your face upon the clean water. How dirty. Come, wash your face. So dialogue doesn't seem to change too much currently. It doesn't particularly seem too different than the original. The king is sure that someday the Light Warriors will come and save the princess, just like Luke Han's prophecy. So let's see what we got in the menu right now. 400 gold, just like the original. Okay, there we go. Like I said, button layout I'm going to take a second to figure out. So let's dole out some weps. Now, fighter is going to obviously use the rapier, because that's a sword weapon. Give that to blue. And one thing is the whip. The whip is for the green mages. So let's go with for Beth. I think rapiers can also be equipped by thieves. My party makeup in the original Final Fantasy is always 2 fighters, a white mage, and a black mage. So we're going to be a little I am going to be a little I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, because I'm playing 2 jobs that I'm not particularly aware of. So, we got that. Okay, I'm just gonna equip weapons currently, because... Okay, yep. They all get equipped without flaw. Okay, now we can get some armor, because this game doesn't start you with weapons and armor. The first Final Fantasy, you have to, Does the green mage wear cloth or wood? I'm going to get cloth just to be safe. And then I'll test out wood when I got more of that cash money. Because that's the thing about this game. See, now I have 210 gil left, and that's important because you need some white and black magic, you know? You need some magic. Nope, no. Beth the Green Mage. Cure, Charm, Fog, and Ruse. Okay, well, let's get Bert Cure. Not Charm, not Charm. And, okay, now, maybe the black magic has something that I can use with... Because the Green Mage, now's the perfect time. The Green Mage has exclusive green magic spells exclusive to her, but they can also use any white or black magic spell that doesn't do direct harm or healing. So I can't use fire, lightning, but sleep and haste can work. Now, I feel like getting some sleep is haste, is a good one. Haste is really good. And I think all the spells are fixed with this game, because if there's another thing about the first Final Fantasy, is half the game doesn't work properly. That's just how it goes. Now, magic. So Beth has haste. Nice. And Bert's got cure. Nice. Now, the thing with the first Final Fantasy as well is it can be kind of grindy, so this playthrough is going to have a lot of intermittent time between episodes every once in a while, along with some slower content and levels. Now, for those who haven't played the first Final Fantasy, let's go get some story, some plot. Let's get some plot for it, because when you do, you gotta talk to the king here. Light warriors, just as Lucan's prophecy. Garland has kidnapped the princess. Please help her. If you don't know who Garland is actually the Knight of Corneria, or Cornelia in the... Corneria, I forget what was the original translation already. I'm used to the original. But basically, Garland was a big deal knight. He was a cool dude, but now he's a bad dude. Just like Corn Pop, he's a bad dude, and now we gotta take care of him. But the first step, and here's another big change that this ROM hack has made that I think is really cool. When you would play the first Final Fantasy, you would line up all your 4 characters would all line up, and you'd one by one go their attacks. And then all the attacks would play out. There's probably a complex algorithm to determine who attacks first, whether it's monster or player. But this is a little more complex. Now, I can just fight the imp. Boom. Done. Dunzo. He attacks immediately. I'm not sure how I particularly feel about that, because I feel like there's a whole layer of strategy in the original Final Fantasy where you would line up everyone's attacks and they would go off. But if you both attacked... If 2 of your party members attacked an enemy, and the first one killed the enemy, the party member who would attacking, their second party member's attack wouldn't alternate to the next enemy. They would just be attacking nothing, like empty space, and it'd be an ineffective attack. I know a lot of people don't like that feature. I actually like it. For me, it feels like it keeps you engaged in the combat, because ultimately, the big thing is being engaged in combat in an RPG is pretty much the primary thing you should do. So, but I feel like this game, he said it's harder than the original Final Fantasy, so he's probably balanced around this different flow of combat. Oh boy. Monster Strike Burst 2. Oh boy, okay. There's another thing also the Manall put in the documents is that you'll get different features depending on who your first party member is. The biggest thing, if you had the thief in the first party member, what would happen is you have a higher chance of getting preemptive strikes and a lower chance of having a back attack like this, or monster strike first. I don't understand why things just linger there doing nothing. It kind of slows things down a wee bit, but whatever. Now, I believe the Great Imp is probably the biggest threat here in all reality. The wolf is just a regular wolf, but the Great, I don't know. The Imp, the Grimp. Let's call him the Grimp, like the Grinch. The Grimp is probably the biggest threat we have to our party currently. Because it's... Whew, whew, 28 damage. Critically... Oh, the wolf ain't dead yet? I think the wolf might be the bigger threat. Oh, I'll whip the wolf. Wow, Green Mage is actually pretty powerful. The Green Mage replaces the Red Mage. If you didn't know what the Red Mage does in Final Fantasy, it's a hybrid between the fighter, Black Mage, and White Mage. It can use bigger swords, and has a few actual exclusive swords dedicated to it, to my knowledge, which is really cool. But then there's also, you can use white and black magic, but it will like peter out by the end. So the Red Mage is very powerful at the start of Final Fantasy, but peters out at the end. I don't really like using the Red Mage ever whenever I play a Final Fantasy. It's not particularly fun for me because I like the whole my character is becoming more and more useful as time goes on. So the idea of like starting really powerful and balancing out later, I'm not particularly fond of. So I don't use the Red Mage when I play the first Final Fantasy. And I use 2 fighters in my party because I'm a scrub, I guess. Because also, if you didn't know, in the first Final Fantasy, the fighter is probably objectively the most powerful job. I'm not sure why. I think it's probably got to do the high defense and really high attack. So my party would always be 2 fighters, a White Mage, and a Black Mage, in that order. Also, for the uninitiated, how the first Final Fantasy's rows work. Because later Final Fantasies have a front and back row. The first party member at the top will get hit 50% of the time, the second one will be hit 25%, and the third and fourth shares 12.5% chance of being attacked, without any defense bonus or attack bonus. So it's a little more, it's actually really, really important who you have sitting on the... It's really important how you construct your party. Oh, no, 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 no. That's Spook Dust. Spook! Critical hit at 9 damage. Oh boy. Nick is gonna be hurting. Oh! Ooh, that stings. Ooh, that's a sting. Okay, I think I should run. Yeah, running is smart. Because when you're playing also Final Fantasy, running is something you got strategery do. I have 3 spells of cure. There we go. I feel like that was a strategic withdrawal. Now, I'm sorry that pretty much this whole episode is going to be me rambling about how this game works for the uninitiated. Because I know there's a few people who watch this channel who probably aren't really initiated to Final Fantasy 1, how it operates. Because I have a few friends and a few other just people I know that watch the channel, and if any one of them feels the need to watch this, I feel like I need to explain the game a little bit. Some people know. I can probably assume some people I know, but I don't think everyone. I can't assume that everyone is initiated into all this. Why'd I do that? Nick should probably attack the Grimp. Or a different imp. Oh. But also another thing that I really like about this hack is you see the yellow border that we have, or it's gold. Manall himself actually has multiple different UI colors that you can choose from, and I chose gold. I thought gold would go juxtapose the blue that most of my party is built up of. You know, about 50% of my party is dominated by the color blue. Also, the color green is blue adjacent, so it also would work with a gold yellow. So I feel like I chose a really good color palette we got going on here. Here's another interesting thing about how NES sprites work. NES sprites are very limited in their color use. So you see on the enemies, and our players too actually, that you see every area that's black is actually the background. There's transparent and it's the black background. That's actually a really fun, interesting trick I've noticed about these old games I liked. I noticed it first when I was playing Final Fantasy 3. So you see in Final Fantasy 3 on the Famicom, which is the Japanese NES, it has a very, very complex looking sprites. And I really like how they look, and I noticed how that looked, because I love... Was it? I don't think it was that, because I did some ROM hacking of NES games way a long time ago, back when I was in high school, because I wanted to, I shit you not, I was hacking the original Super Mario Brothers. I changed Mario into Sonichu, made by Goddess Chris Chan themselves. I made the Koopas pickles. So, ultimately, I feel like I made a good decision doing that. I feel like I did the Lord's work on that one. So yeah, that's a fun little story I have. Hacking Super Mario Brothers to make it Sonichu. I actually made my own sprites for that too. It was really fun. I actually had to go into alter the hex code for Mario to change his color palette. I shit you not. Maybe ROM hacking tools for the original Super Mario Brothers are more... Ooh, level up! Strength up, HP max 60. Ooh boy. Strength up for blue, that's good. Agility up, not bad. Strength up is what we need. Hit, magic defense up. Ooh, fatality up. Everything is leveling up. Ooh, that's a good level up. I feel that level up. And Nick 54. Alrighty. Strength, agility, hit, magic defense, luck. Ooh, luck is good for the thief. If luck works. I think luck works in this ROM hack. Strength up for Beth. I think that works because of how Green Mage hit magic defense. Magic defense is also really good. Because magic defense, obviously, magic defense and magic is really powerful. Obviously. What we got for Bert going on? Strength up for a white mage. Okay. Agility up for a white mage. Okay. Hit magic defense. Do they change how leveling works? I don't know. Obviously, my party has gotten significantly more powerful. So let's take a moment and heal up. Let's heal up a little bit. Healing up is smart. Yeah, let's heal. This is also how you save. You can only save in the original Final Fantasy through sleeping. Also, another thing I should note that I probably did not mention by mentioning in passing is how magic works. As you can see, magic has levels, and those levels have individual casts of that level. Not an MP system that was introduced later in Final Fantasy. This actually takes direct inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons and how magic works in D&D, where you can only cast a certain amount of spells in a day. To my knowledge, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons myself. I played Dungeons and Dragons video games, but not the actual game. But to my knowledge, it's like individual spells you can cast a certain amount of times a day, while this one has levels of spells. Makes it a little more lenient, maybe. Bro, Knight, you're taking over the armor spot. Oh, wow. This is some white magic for Bert. Bert use, Harm is another thing I would want. Because Harm does damage to undead. And undead are a pain in the ass to deal with. And a lot, if you don't know about the original Final Fantasy, is one of the earliest dungeons in the game, is one of the hardest dungeons in the game, which is the Marsh Cave. Predominantly because there's a lot of undead, and they also poison the shit out of you. And poison in the first Final Fantasy is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. So the Marsh Cave is notoriously difficult, and it is a butt clencher, let me tell you. But if you can beat the Marsh Cave, you've essentially defeated the first roadblock of Final Fantasy, where you're beating your head against the wall. And that's actually one thing that's interesting. Last time I played the first Final Fantasy, I was playing the Pixel Remaster, and I just plowed through the Marsh Cave. It was surreal. Because the first iteration of Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy I played was the NES version. So I'm used to the Marsh Cave being a force to be reckoned with. So I just plowed through it without thinking. I was just like, oh, okay. And then I went in there, rushed to the boss, went out. I made another run to get all the treasure chests, and I went out. It was super easy and not very eventful. And I was just like, I don't know. When it comes to I like the weird difficulty that the first Final Fantasy presents. The game can be kind of archaic to a lot of people, but I'm used to this game because I played it probably when I was in middle school. That's when I played it. Now I'm going to head up to the Swampland over here. The Swampland has a rare spawn, I believe. And that rare spawn is worth some... Yep, there we go, the rare spawn, Mad Pony. And Mad Pony gives a nice amount of experience, so that's why I'm going after this horse here. That's why we're going to fuck this horse! You know? So that's how we're going to do things. I'm going to try to get to level 3 before I fight Garland. That's my goal. And once I hit my time limit for the episode, I'll just grind off screen, then I will rush back onto the episode 2. So you're not left grinding. Because my whole thing with the grinding is I don't want to spend too much time on screen grinding. This is me establishing the groundwork for this playthrough. Establishing all the information you need to know about how this game works to those who are the uninitiated, while I mindlessly go through the combat because I don't have to think as much because all I have to do is tap the A button and I can plow through enemies because I don't have to worry about having attacks be ineffective. But I assume when there's more complex enemy formations, with enemies that have more complex skills to deal with, I imagine there'll be priority targets and other things I have to worry about. So I'm really excited for that, because I like the thinking man's game a little bit when it comes to the JRPG. Ooh, 24 experience. Ooh, that's a good amount of experience. Ooh, that's good. So how much do I need to level up? Go blue. 116, yeah, so that's pretty much like a 5th or 6th of a level. That's pretty good. Grimps. Now I got revenge on these ones because they back attacked us last time. But, I might as well cast some spells this fight. To show off some magic. Come on, I need Beth to get her stuff taken care of. Get your shit together, Beth! So we can, cast some magic. It's like 1 in the fucking morning. I don't know why I'm doing this late, but I need to get some recording done, because if you are a follower of the channel, you probably know I've been a little slacking on the uploads, and that's generally because of my recording schedule and other things. So let's cast haste. What? Oh, it only affects the caster. Okay, that's fine, because Beth is also a powerhouse with her whip, so ultimately haste is not the biggest waste of a spell slot. Because to my knowledge, the first green magic is a level 2 spell, if I looked at the document correctly. So, if I looked at the document correctly, misses are... That's the thing in this game also. If you notice with JRPGs, there's numbers. RPGs and JRPGs, respectively, are all about numbers. If you notice, in this game, particularly numbers are pretty low. So a critical hit or a miss, you feel viscerally. Like 10 damage when your max HP is 54 that's a lot of damage. The quote, the man, the myth, the legend himself of Flex Tape fame, that's a lot of damage! And also another thing with the first Final Fantasy is enemy formation with 6 enemies is rather foreboding because, obviously, just they get 6 attacks a turn, and that's insane. So 8 damage from blue, that is pathetic. Use your sword to better effect, or you're gonna get fired. I'm gonna fire you. I don't know how I can't kick people out of the party. You know, it's not like I'm a DM that can just kick somebody out who's being a toxic asshole or something. I don't know. Can't you believe I use the word toxic in that context? Because usually one would say, I am the toxic one. Be the reason why somebody logs out of Facebook today. You know what I mean? That's not, you know what I'm saying? This is sarcasm, people. This is sarcasm. Oh, if you didn't realize, if you don't understand what sarcasm is, be the reason why she hates specific zodiac signs. That's one I've been seeing popping up on the Boomer book every once in a while. That one's a funny one. Okay, yeah, it's double. And basically how haste works is how, if you don't know how first Final Fantasy works, a lot of Final Fantasy, I remember Final Fantasy 3 goes like by this too, is there's a certain amount of hits, your chances for your party member to hit, and it can hit those amount of chances. In Final Fantasy 3, it's visualized really well, and it feels good to watch. 108 gil. Oh boy. That is a nice amount of cash money. That is a beautiful amount of cash money, I'd say. But yeah, what I was going to say about the battle backgrounds, if you notice the battle backgrounds are just on the top like that, and it's just a black squares to make sprites more detailed. Ultimately, the limitations, that's the thing about video games in the modern era I don't particularly like, and this is just me being a boomer. I admit this is just me being the out-of-touch boomer, is I love games that are designed around very strict limitations of very strict hardware limitations. Because I look at this first Final Fantasy, or this ROM hack with these new sprites. The imp sprites aren't new. I think the Grimp has a different color. The imps and the Grimps have different color palettes. Because the original imps were orange. But, I look at the detail of these sprites, even though it's, like, very limited. There's a certain level of charm to it. And I still see that. I'm not saying that a level of charm isn't in modern games, but I feel like modern AAA games have kind of lost that edge that I like. Because there's like I love art styles as opposed to graphical fidelity. That's something I felt ever since I was pretty young, is that I prefer interesting art styles. That's why Persona 5, as much as I have complaints about Persona 5 from a narrative and character perspective, visually Persona 5 is really good, even though the game can run on the PS3. It was released on the PS4, so its technical on the graphical scale isn't as high as other games. But how Persona 5 handles menus and flow of combat, visual flow of combat. The non-visual flow, the actual flow of combat's really smooth, but visually it works really well too. So I feel like styling is really important in design, and that's something I'm starting to develop an eye for when it comes to that. So personally, I like interesting styles. But with old games like this, all you had was style. Because I'll put some of the concept art of the original Final Fantasy on the screen, because I owned art books over the original 6 Final Fantasy games, because Yoshitaka Amano's art style is really good, and I love his art style, and I feel like his involvement in the stylings of the original Final Fantasy gives it charm that I like. So I own multiple art books. I actually own the Ultimania for Final Fantasies 1 through 6. Not only because Final Fantasy 1 through 6 has all my favorite Final Fantasies in there, but, I don't know, it's tough to say, because it's strange. I feel like there's eras of Final Fantasy. 1 through 6 is one era, even though I don't really like to. I like splitting 1 through 6 as 1 through 3 and 4 through 6, because the 8 and 16-bit eras are much different in their design philosophies. But I can see why they're all lumped into one era because of how they all follow this similar overarching philosophy. Then 7, 8, and 9 are considered their own era, the PS1 era, and 7, 8, and 9, good in their own right. Don't get me wrong, 7 and 9 I both love in their own ways, and 8 is a very interesting game. I have a lot of mixed opinions about 8. I go through periods where I like it and I dislike it. I feel like the pacing of 8 is much faster than, say, 9. Because I feel like 9's biggest fault is it has a really slow start. And I feel like 10, 11, and 12... Oh, God! That's a lot of damage right there. See, when you have 37 HP and you get hit by a 21, that's a lot. But 10, 11, and 12 have their own era, and 10 I really like a lot. I really like 10, and 11's really fun, too, in its own way. 11 you have to be in the right mood for me, at least. And 12, for some reason, I can't play 12. I like 12. I think 12 is fun. Doesn't click with me, I guess. But that's just how it goes. But then when it comes to 13, 14, and 15, I feel like there's a drop-off with those. Besides 14, because 14 is, in general, exceptional. But 15, as much as I like 15, I beat it twice. It doesn't feel as... What's the word I'm looking for? It feels strange. I guess that's because of its rushed development. Even though it was in development hell for a long time, it switched directors. And the new director, Hajime Tabata, was basically told to finish things in 2 years, if I understand correctly. So he was given a shit show, it sounds like, and he just did his best, and I can respect churning out a decent game out of what I hear the mess of Final Fantasy 15 was at that point. So I can respect Hajime Tabata's grind on that game. And ultimately getting it finished is impressive. But I just don't like, and 13 is like, I go through moods with 13 because I liked it when it came out. But then, what happened when it came out, like afterwards, I never beat it. I got to when it got open world. Sorry, I had a cough there. When it gets open world by the end of it, near the end of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can get into this. And then it just fell off for me. I don't know, which is weird because that's when people say the game gets really good, but I feel like difficulty scaling at that point just got kind of egregious. And there's something I should articulate too. There's like, for the majority of my life, I was just really bad at video games. So I feel like I'm better now than I was way back when. But, yeah. So, yeah, in 13 I go through moods with it, but last time I played it, I felt it was really boring. I don't know, I just felt like it was incredibly boring. Oh well, this episode's gone on long enough of rambling, so I'm going to, off-screen, level up to level 3, and then I'll meet you back here. So until then, I'll see y'all next time. Adios.